Hi, this is Petal. Welcome to Facts and Two Extra. So, with these segments, I'm going to be looking at topics that we don't get a chance to sort of touch when we do our regular web series. So, I'm going to be dropping in maybe every couple of days with these topics, so that way, because so many things happen during the week and we don't get to hit all of them, or we can't hit all of them when we do our regular web series. So, I thought, hey, why not touch on them and we'll see where we go. Prince Harry and Meghan have been doing incredible things since they've arrived in the US, really. And some of the things that they've been doing are different interviews and web series just about especially on the topic of mental health, and also talking about their lives and their experiences in the royal family, and also their life growing up, especially in the case of Prince Harry. So one of those web series that Prince Harry did was in a web series called The Armchair Experts with Dak Shepard and Monica Padman. And on that episode, Prince Harry, among many other things, actually was one of the really fun, really insightful episodes. Also caused some fake outrage and some fake controversy, which of course, if you know anything about the British press, it doesn't take much for them to have a controversy over. But anyway, one of the things Prince Harry talked about there was whenever he speaks out about his life, people would attack him. And it's usually the same pockets of people. And he talks about it being so... Sometimes he wants to, he'd feel like you want to go at them, because who wouldn't if people are coming at you? But then he talks about flipping it. And flipping it on them is like, okay, what happened to you? Instead of saying, what's wrong with you? Why are you coming at me? Ask them the question, what happened to you? What happened to you to make you the kind of person who was so angry and so malicious that you would come at me, somebody that you don't know, you've never met me. Why are you attacking me? And so he asked that question and something rang in me. And I started thinking about the people who are constantly attacking him and constantly attacking Meghan. And so I decided to go back and just sort of check out the lives of those people. And one of the people, and I'm going to be doing this series with quite a few of the royal reporters who cover him, and especially the ones who are on a daily basis attacking them. Today, I am going to focus on Angela Levin. And I know a lot of you know Angela Levin. She has been out there, And so Angela Levin is a author, a biographer. She actually wrote the biography of Prince, biographies of Prince Harry. She is a journalist. She is a royal expert and a television commentator. So Angela Levin is all over the place. You will normally find her on GMB This Morning. She's on a radio commentator. You'll also find her guest spotting on LBC. She also writes for The Telegraph. She also writes for the Daily Mail. So she is all over when you think of royal reporting. And Angela Levin is one of those people who it seems have made it her business, and made it her duty, and made it her mission in life to attack Harry, and especially Meghan. She is in every television show, in every newspaper, and every Twitter post that is about them is negative. It's attacking, it's malicious in every way and form. And at some point you're like, well, what gives? Like, why are you going at these two people seemingly for no reason at all? Why have you made it your mission to attack two people that you met one only because you were given permission to write a book about him. So she followed him, to his events and all of that stuff, and spoke to him about his life and all of that. The other, Meghan, to my knowledge, she has not met. But Angela has made it her mission in life to destroy these two people. She's made it her mission in life to destroy this marriage. She's made it her mission in life to get everybody else to feel as she does about this couple that she really don't know. And so part of me wanted to find out, well, why? What happened to Angela to make her this bitter, malicious, and the venom to which she speaks about Harry and Meghan is just like, it's personal, like they personally offended her. And so I wanted to find out, well, why? What happened to Angela? What happened to her to make her into this nasty, vicious person that she portrays every single day? So in order to do that, I had to go way back. What happened in her life? What happened to make her like this? So we got to go back all the way back to when Angela was a 3-year-old. Angela grew up with her mom and dad. And she said on the outside or around people, a company, her mother is this brilliant, funny, exuberant person among company and when she's outside. But when she's at home, her mother is a monster. Her mother was so cruel to her. She was so cruel that Angela knew how cruel her mother was at 3 years old. Because at 3 years old, she decided to run away. She remembers clearly deciding to run away and telling her mom that she is a mean person and she doesn't want to live with her anymore. She ran away, literally. She said she was so small, she couldn't even reach the door. She had to pull up a chair, and her mother saw her doing it and didn't stop her. She pulled up a chair until she figured out how to open the door, walked out the door, and went to her neighbors and asked her neighbor to live with her. She said she doesn't remember how long she was at her neighbors, but somehow she ended up back home. So at 3 years old, Angela knew that her mother was cruel, and she knew that there was something wrong in her life. When Angela, she talks about for her whole life, she's basically walked around on eggshells in her home. Her mom, she could never figure out where her mom was. She could never figure out the moods. It would change on a dime. So she was never in a secure place. Some of the things that her mother did to her, she said she can't even talk about because I guess it's so painful for her. She's an only child. So she said she had nobody to turn to. She had no brother or sister to go to support her. So her father was very kind, but very passive. She would go to him for help. And he would be like, well, you know how your mother is. So he was of no help to her. So she basically was on her own. She would cry herself to sleep a lot because she didn't know how to figure out her mom. Angela said she has never had an intimate conversation with her mom to find out why her mom was the way she was. One of the terrible things her mother did, her parents got her a dog she named Sally. She would walk her and feed her and all of those things. She loved Sally. 6 weeks later, she came home from school and Sally is gone. Her mom said she gave Sally away with no warning. Just like that, she just took Sally away and gave her away because she felt Angela wasn't taking care of her enough. To which she obviously cried herself, silly because of that. I mean, that is cruel to do to a child. One of the things Angela said she loved to do was to read. That was her passion, reading, because her mother knew that was something she loved. She banned her from reading, literally banned her from reading. Until she was 14 years old, Angela was not allowed to read a book in her house. And sometimes she would try to hide the book, under a cover with with a torch. But then it would get her into so much trouble after a while. And she just thought, you know what? I'm not going to do that. And so she just contented herself to just read at school. I mean, how do you ban your child from reading? I mean, most parents would want their children to read. Angela's mother banned her from reading. Angela also says her mother would constantly put her down with demeanor, say demeaning things to her. One of the things, the horrible things Angela said her mother told her, her mother told her that she should have named her Satan instead of Angela because she has never given her a moment's joy in her life. Can you imagine your own mother telling you that she should have named you Satan? But actually, looking at the way Angela has turned out, maybe her mother foresaw what she was going to be doing. That's a whole other issue. But imagine as a child, though, your mother telling you that she should have named you Satan, the devil, because you've never given her a moment of joy. She always made Angela feel guilty because, she's always talking about how difficult it is to raise her. Angela never knew. She said she never knew why her mother was this evil, why she would do this to her all the time. It was like her mother's mission to destroy her life. Another thing her mother would do is, when Angela was old enough and, boys would come over and, the gentleman caller, I guess, her mother would put them to such a horrible introduction that after a while, the boys wouldn't come. And then what Angela's mother did? Gaslight her, telling her, see, nobody wants you. Nobody wants to be with you. After she's the one that drove them away, she's telling Angela, nobody wants to be with you. The same thing she did with Angela's friends. After a while, Angela didn't want her friends coming over because her mother would hover over them. And after that, after the friends leave, she would say horrible things about them. So she didn't want her friends come over. But one day, one of her friends came over and her friend realized that she didn't have, she left the money that she was supposed to take the bus home or however to get home. And she left it at home and asked Angela to borrow £5 and she would give her back the next day. Her mother saw this and accused Angela of having to buy friends. So anytime somebody would come over to the house, she would tell them, Angela has no friends because she has to buy friends. Angela also talked about, her joy of getting her driver's license and hoping that she would be able to drive the car. Her mother refused. Even though Angela walking had to go past a churchyard where 2 people had already gotten murdered, her mother refused to let her drive the car. Her thing was come home early before it gets dark, which she said in the winter was impossible, obviously, because it gets dark very early. When Angela decided to, when she had gotten a job and she was like, decided that she was going to leave home, she thought that, well, her mother would be happy to get rid of her. She'd been so mean to her, I guess. But instead, her mother told her that if she ever leave, if she moved out, she will never be able to step foot in her house again. She also accused her of, if she's leaving, she's trying to kill her and kill her father because she's moving out. Those are some of the things that Angela's mother did to guilt her out so she wouldn't leave home. And so you think, you think about it and you think about all the things I've just said about Angela's life. Well, how do we know all those things? How do we know about all the things that Angela has gone through and, at least some of the things that Angela has gone through with her mother and the way she was treated as a child? Well, how do we know this? Because Angela wrote a damning column in the Daily Mail. And the headline of that read, "My mother was a cruel and horrid woman." The headline went on to talk about Angela dealing with this taboo subject of the cruel treatment of her mother, something that she has, been keeping secret for her whole life. All of Angela's experience that I just listed were all in that Daily Mail article. Angela also did an interview with psychologist Alison Corner, who knew of her real difficult relationship with her mother. And so they also did an interview with The Guardian. Their interview is also on, Angela's interview is also on Net Doctor, where she recounted all these stories. The title of the interview was called Horrible Parents, Survival Guide. And in it, she and Alison shared the fact that they teamed up to form a platform that would help especially teenagers who have to live with, or who have lived with, horrid parents and horrible parents. And the interviewer actually was quite bothered by this. And she wanted to know, like, well, why would you create a platform that demonizes your parent? Don't you want, to create a platform that will encourage them to grow and to change? And Angela didn't mind. She's like, no, I don't think teenagers would, it bother a teenager because, they all understand what growing up with a horrid parent is. The mission statement, I should say, of their platform was to help teenagers and really anyone who have an experience living with a horrid parent to be able to handle it, to be able to live a successful life, to be able to move past that trauma, and also to become better parents that are better than their parents have been to them. So it's basically that they don't repeat the same patterns. So that was what their platform was aiming at. And then they share their platform. They have a website called My Horrid Parent. They have a Twitter page called My Horrid Parent. They have a Facebook page called My Horrid Parent. They have a Instagram page called My Horrid Parent, hosted by Angela Levin and psychologist Alison Corner. You would think with Angela Levin's experience growing up in a traumatic and abusive situation, that she, of all people, would understand where Harry is coming from. She, of all people, would understand what it's like to grow up in a dysfunctional family, a family where you're basically, walking on eggshells, a family where you don't feel secure, a family where you're traumatized. You would think Angela would understand that. You would think Angela would understand about sharing that experience, since Angela did the same thing. The reason I know all this information, again, is because she wrote a damning article about her own mother, calling her a horrible parent, a horrid mother. The fact that she has all social media about My Horrid Parent. Why? To help others who have gone through the same thing that she has. The fact that she shared openly with others about how horrible her mother was. You would think that Angela Levin would understand where Harry is coming from. You would think that she would be the one to be like, wow, let me support him. Because the same thing that I'm trying to do with my kids or my teenagers who have experienced horrid relationship with their parents, maybe I can, use Harry's experience, and they can, learn from Harry's experience how to overcome it, how to talk about it, how to share about it, move past it, and help others with it. You would think that would be where Angela Levin would, that would be her thinking. You would think she would understand about being open and honest about those things, because Angela Levin was. She talked openly and honestly about it to the Guardian, to Net Doctor, to the Daily Mail. You would think Angela would understand why Harry would, in interviews, or say the Me You Can't See or the Armchair Expert, will talk about his experience so that he can get healed. Angela found a way to be able to deal with her demons in writing those articles, because she's a writer. She's a journalist. She was able to exercise her demons. And then, which I find noble, try to help others in starting their platform, their website, their social media, their Twitter and Instagram pages, to help teens who've gone through the same experience, the exact thing that Harry is trying to do. So you would think that Angela would understand, and she would be a supporter. And if you thought that, you would be wrong. Instead, Angela has taken it upon herself to attack Harry and Meghan for the same things that she did. They did an interview with Oprah where they talked about their experience being in the royal family. Harry talked about his experience growing up in the royal family, the things that he experienced. Harry spoke about those in the Armchair Podcast. He spoke about, genetic or generational trauma, not wanting to repeat the patterns that he saw his dad, passed down from his father's father, Prince Philip. And he saw that passed down to his father. This is not new information. This was widely documented information that Philip was abusive to Prince Charles. This is widely documented. Royal reporters talk about it. There are documentaries about it. It's written in Jonathan Dimbley's book. This is not new information. So Harry spoke about generational trauma passed down from Prince Philip to his father. And his father basically passed on to him. Harry even recounted an episode where his father was like, well, if I went through all of this and I went through this pain, therefore you're going to go through the same thing. And Harry was like, no, you don't want to, that shouldn't be what you want for your child. You should want better for your child, that they shouldn't go through the traumas that you went through. These are the same things Angela's mission for her website is about. That's the same thing that she is trying to get her teenagers, that whoever the teenagers are, to not repeat the patterns of their parents. That's the same thing Harry just did. And yet Angela has attacked Harry in the most vicious way. She's attacked him and Meghan on Twitter. She has attacked them on GMB. She has attacked them on radio. She has misrepresented what they've said. She's called them disrespectful. She's said that they are looking to destroy the family. She has called Harry weak. She's called Meghan manipulative. I mean, it is on and on, so much so that Angela has incited hate against them. Pretty much everything they say is negative to Angela, or she would twist it in a way that's negative. So desperate is Angela Levin to control the narrative in Harry's life, that when Harry shared about his journey to getting help and seeing a therapist, he said that, there are people in his life who had talked to him about it, and he wasn't so, he was like, okay, and he went, but, he saw different doctors and, different therapists and stuff like that. But it's only when he's had this argument with Meghan that it really clicked for him, and he really started dealing and really focus on the help that he needed. So when he shared that in the Me You Can See, and he shared that in the Armchair Podcast as well, Angela went berserk. She literally called him a liar and proceeded to say that, no, Harry, she had asked Harry if Meghan had anything to do with it, and he has said absolutely not. Angela has never given any evidence to that. I read Angela's book. That does not exist in Angela's book. There is nowhere in Angela's book that says that she asked him if Meghan had anything to do with his mental health, and he said no. It doesn't exist in there. At least I didn't see it. Maybe I missed it when I read it. But it's not there. She basically called this man a liar for telling his own story, And I went back and I looked back and read back the chapter that she wrote about Harry talking about his mental health. And everything Harry said in there is exactly what he said in the Armchair Podcast. And it's the same story. And Angela, so desperate to control the narrative, basically called the man telling his own story a liar. Angela has then decided to join, or, she started retweeting this hate group. She retweeted where they're questioning Meghan's pregnancy, claiming that she is carrying a fake baby, that her child is a silicone baby, that she's used as surrogate, that she was not actually pregnant. She has this huge platform as a reporter, as a journalist for GMB and This Morning and all these platforms that she has a big platform. And so by interacting and retweeting these hate accounts, basically legitimize these hate accounts and given them access to her followers. So now these accounts are emboldened to continue the abuse of Meghan. These hate accounts are, for the 4 years, have been nonstop on a daily basis, abusing Meghan and Harry. And this is what Angela, who is supposed to be a journalist, is doing. How bad is Angela? She is so bad that she was featured in a recent article by Refinery. This reporter from Refinery went undercover to expose really these hate accounts. And Angela was featured in that article as one of the hateful reporters. And, of course, when they contacted her, she said, well, no comment. Angela didn't reserve her criticism again just for Harry. She is merciless against Meghan, even before they got married. In her biography about Prince Harry, The Interview with the Prince, she basically paints Meghan as this master networker out to make, collect rich friends. She went on to write about Meghan's family. Angela, it seemed, looked for every single negative aspect of Meghan's family on both sides that she could find, from divorces to bankruptcies to jail to every single negative thing that Angela could find in that family, Angela wrote about. So anything that Angela could use to paint Meghan in a negative way, she did it. One of the things that Angela says that she can spot bullying from a mile. I have to say, Angela, you don't have to look a mile. All you have to do is look in a mirror and you can find the bully right there. She also talked about not wanting to be like her mother. She was actually grateful for her mother, amazingly enough, because it taught her what she does not want to be when she grow up, when she become an adult, when she become a parent. And Angela talked about her relationship with her sons, that she had this great relationship with her sons, that she never repeated her mother's patterns. The only problem is Angela has taken what her mother's patterns and brought it in and has spewing that all over to people that she doesn't really know. She's spewing all that hate and all that resentment and all of those things onto Meghan and Harry. The same condescending, the same demeaning, the same maliciousness that came at her from her mother, she is spewing now that onto them, onto Harry and Meghan. Angela seems the need to control that she said she didn't have with her son. She never tried to control her life because she felt like that's what her mother did. That's what now Angela is perpetuating, that behavior on Harry. Like she feels that the need to control his life, to tell him how to live, to tell him who is right for him, to tell him the right way that he needs to be, the way he needs to speak to his parents, what he needs to share about them, how he needs to share. It's like the whole thing that she said that she did not want to take from her mother is exactly that very thing that she is putting onto two people that she does not know. So why is Angela being like this? Why is she hating two people she does not know? Why is she doing that? There's only two things I can imagine. Angela is literally paid to hate. Like in every situation, no matter what it is, it's like it seems like wherever she goes, that she is literally paid to say exactly what she is saying, that she is paid to hate, that she is paid to disparage and demean Harry and Meghan. And that's what she does. Also, Angela was fine writing about the dysfunction in the royal family in Harry's book. She was perfectly fine to lay out the dysfunction of his father and his mother. She was perfectly fine. She had no problem. But for some reason, when Harry does it, it's a problem. It's like, but you wrote about how bad his family situation is. You saw, you wrote it in your book. How dysfunctional his life was growing up. Yet you have a problem with him talking about it. You are maligning him for talking about his own life. And so the only thing I could think of there is Angela no longer has control of that narrative. She wants control of that narrative. She wants to control what's said about him. And the moment he took that away from her, the knives came out. Because why? He's taking money away from her. That's the same attitude so many royal reporters have, that why they are attacking them, because all of a sudden they don't control the narrative of his life anymore. They don't get to say what is happening in his life. He has control, and that takes money out of their pocket. One of the things Angela said that is the most important thing to her, I guess, is that she did not want to become her mother. She did not want to repeat the patterns of her mother. That was the one thing she didn't want to do. Angela, you have failed at that. Angela, you have become the one thing you did not want to become. I hope that you would really take stock of your life. I hope that you would one day sit down and watch Harry's documentary, The Me You Can't See, because you desperately need it. You desperately need to go back and really focus on the things that you learned from your mom and the things that you didn't want to repeat. I hope that you look in the mirror and see the bully that looks staring back at you so that you would change. As much as I want to attack you and I feel the same as Harry, I hope that you would look at yourself and see that you really need to do some self-examination. You really need to look at yourself and what you have become and understand that it is unacceptable what you are doing to two people you don't know. Your bullying, your narcissism, your meanness, your vindictiveness, your vileness is unacceptable. You have become the very thing that you don't want to become. You have become Florence. You have become your mother.